Do you know how many Grand Prix wins are in here?
I don't know why. I thought he was going to be a brilliant guy.
One of the most famous cars ever. BT49, 49, 49, 49.
He said, that's it. I'm never going to, if you've got this, if this is the car we're going to race, I'm not racing it. You forgot to mention something very important.
Bernie, we've walked around the Ferraris, we've chatted about all the Ferraris, and for me, I feel like if you cut me, I'm Ferrari. I love them. Obviously, I appreciate all of these other cars from the different generations, but I feel Bernie, Brabham, that relationship. Jack Brabham, an amazing guy, but you're the person who built that brand, who bought the business, and
you never built the brand, really. I mean, how can a Jack was the...
It was Jack's surname, but when you look at these cars, I mean, this car here is regarded, this is your very early years in Brabham, and this car is regarded as probably the most beautiful Formula One car of all time. To hold that as a statement for your team, and a super successful car, you know, a Grand Prix winning car. I think Carlos Paci won in this.
Number 8.
Yeah.
Carlos Paci.
And the livery, you know, it's such
nice.
How
It's
did
a
the
good-looking car, that.
How did the livery come about?
When we were sort of looking for a sponsor, Count Gregorio come along with people from, I was outside of London a little bit, super people, that artists and everything else, and designers, designed how the car was going to look. And we went and had lunch, came back, he said, let's have a look at the car. And I remember walking very much into the factory. And I said, do you mind? And I ripped everything off the car.
Everything that they had put on?
All the things they'd...
This was Martini?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I said, we're going to do the painting on this car, which we did and sent to him, and he said, super.
So who came up with this then? Who did you...
I don't know, I just thought it was one of my ideas, which I get every now and again.
How did you get Martini as a sponsor?
I don't know what happened there. They were very nice people to deal with, super lovely people.
Mm. And Carlos as a driver?
Yeah. They were obviously happy with the drivers we had. Mm. Good for them marketing-wise.
Where was the factory? Where was Brabham based out of?
Just outside of London.
Mm. And then the 44, so this is a Gordan Murray design car.
Absolutely,
but
100%.
When I look at this car and I see the triangular shape of the 44...
You forgot to mention something very important for Formula One, and if it hadn't happened, I don't know, we'd have probably all had Ferrari engines. That thing in the back.
The Ford. Yeah. That Ford lasted so many years in Formula One.
Absolutely. Won so many championships and races.
Incredible engine, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But then Gordan, when I look at these cars and I see the 44, maybe most beautiful car of all time, people argue that the 45 might have been and the red livery, the Martini livery, is a great looking car. But you see the triangular shape is lost on this car.
Yeah.
But then straight away the year after,
it on that again.
It comes back.
Yeah.
But what was that all about? This is your relationship with Alfa starts here then in the 46. This is your first Alfa Romeo car though, with the flat 12.
Yeah.
Struggled a bit with the engine, did you initially?
Not a little bit.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember we left one race. We always had problems. I came back in the car with from the plane in the car to Carlos Patch's house. And he said, that's it. I'm never going to, if you've got this, if this is the car we're going to race, I'm not racing it.
Oh, really?
Like, nothing to do with it. Every race it goes wrong.
This was all to do with the engine?
Yeah, only the engine.
But it's hard, isn't it, for anybody that comes back into Formula One, even though Alfa was dominating in the 40s and 50s, if they come back into Formula One, it's not easy just to get an engine straight away that is competitive.
No, I think it was Gordan Murray that was happy to have a flat engine.
Yeah.
Because you could do so much air to the rear wing. If you look at that, it sort of stops. Now this was perfect. What they forgot was the engine was no good. Always a lot of problems.
How did you, before we start talking about all of these cars, you know, Ferrari of this period, you know, they used to scrap a lot of their cars. A lot of the race teams, they didn't keep their cars because the cars being on their books used to cost them a few quid, I think, at the end of the year.
Most of the people that had them wanted to sell them, they wanted the money.
How did you come to go, no, we won't sell it, we'll keep it? How did you have the foresight? It's okay today, you look at the value of these cars today and it looks like the cleverest decision in the world, but how did you have the foresight to not scrap them?
I didn't think the Lord, the fact that I wasn't in a position where I needed to sell them, not desperately needed to sell them. So I said, I'm going to keep them.
The 49, obviously, was that the big game changer for you?
Yeah, it was a supercar.
You know, the car that won a championship for you, won the first championship for you. But that's not the car that actually probably should have won you the first championship. The car that should have won you the first championship. And I'm gonna ask you something now. The fan car, one of the most famous cars ever in Formula One. Niki Lauda wins in Sweden by about a week before the rest of them finish the race. You own Brabham, you know you're onto a winner. It's at Sweden, you know that nobody can come close to you in a race for a minute. That's how dominating this car was. And then straight after the race, you agree to withdraw the car.
Correct.
Is this where there was a conflict of interest, where you're running Formula One? You must have had a...
It wasn't a conflict. You know, Colin Chapman, Teddy May, all the people that were in Formula One, successful those days, they said, we'll all have to build these like this.
But the time it would have taken them, you'd have won the championship.
Yeah, I know, but...
You hadn't, at that time, you hadn't already won a championship.
You don't need to win a championship because of... And this was never illegal. Andretti said, we're going to get killed in the race because it keeps throwing stones out the back and for sure we're going to get killed and whatever. So anyway, we stopped all that nonsense.
And how did Niki take it then? Because... How did Niki react? How did Gordan Murray react? How did Herbie Blash react? How did Charlie Whiting? How did all the people? They must have been back in Brabham celebrating, going, yes, we're dominating. And then obviously you're at the same time running Formula One and you come back and go, hey guys, you know what, we're not going to compete with that car anymore.
Well, they knew the reason. It was an obvious reason because what the people said was a fact. They would have all had to build them. Mm. So maybe we would have still won the championship because they would have built at the end of the year, it would have been too late. But in the meantime, they would have spent a lot of money, a lot of effort and taken the chance of them winning with their standard cars away from this. So it wasn't fair.
And it's funny how chassis of this era have such stories, because after this car being a fan car and winning as a fan car, the fan then got removed from it and it went to the British Grand Prix and had a podium at the British Grand Prix again with Lauda as a non-fan car. So, you know, these days that would never happen. You'd never have a car that was changed so much.
Well, this wasn't a car that was in the race with other cars. It was on its own.
It's such an icon of Formula One, and I know for years I've been on your case. You know, how many times have I approached you and said I have a buyer for the fan car, and you'd be like, that's the last car I'm ever going to sell.
Yeah.
And
that's the one for you to take to Monaco.
I couldn't control that around Monaco. I can barely control anything around Monaco. We've got all of these Brabhams here to talk about. These are cars you've never sold. You've had them for half a century. But you know, you look at the car that Lauda won his last race in. Lauda retired for the first time. What happened in Canada when Lauda got out the car and he retired?
I think Nelson was quicker.
Yeah.
I think that was the real reason. Nelson wasn't, Niki wasn't that excited about, you know, the way that the car was different to what he'd been used to driving.
But you were paying him, how much was it back then? Was it $1 million a year?
It was the most that anyone had been paid.
This is in the 1970s, a Formula One driver, $1 million a year, and he gets out and goes, do you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. Was he going to retire at the end of the season, and you said?
He originally came back in Canada,
Practice,
after qualifying, and said, I'm thinking that we're going to retire at the end of the year. I said, you retire now. Not at the end of the year, now.
And he'd just signed the contract?
Yeah, but it made no difference. I'd tear everything up, I said, because the last thing would want to happen. You have an accident, and you're in the hospital, laying in bed looking at the ceiling.
Regretting.
You know. So you better stop now. And he went to America. He started his aeroplane business.
And super successful, his aeroplane business.
Whatever Niki would get involved when he'd be successful.
Just a really special guy.
Yeah, he knew what he was doing.
We've got the BT48s, evolved into the BT49. Yeah. And then we've got the 52. These are the Nelson's championship winning cars.
Yeah.
These are the cars that, you know, he won the championship in. Good-looking car. This is the BMW's first ever championship winner. Over here, you've also got.
Yes, I was going to say here.
You've got the BT50 jumping from one to the other. But look at all these here though. These BT. I'm just a car guy, but
they've all got a nice history.
BT49s, like BT49s is what everybody wants to buy to go racing in.
Oh, yeah.
And look, BT49, 49, 49, 49. Like, it's unbelievable. And then the 50, this is, BT50 is the first ever
to win
a race for BMW.
Yeah. The only time BMW have won it.
Well, later times.
Won the championship.
Well, the championship in the 52, but in the 50, their first ever Grand Prix win in the 50. And then, obviously, we've got 54s here. Now, your car that's here is a 54 is the last car you ever won a Grand Prix with as a Brabham owner, and you've still got that car. I was looking through some statistics, and do you know how many Grand Prix wins are in here, in your Brabhams?
No idea.
You've got 22 Grand Prix winners. You have 22 Grand Prix winners, 24 pole positions. A pole position car. You've got this one here, the BT.
What is this?
53. In practice, back in this period, you would have a car that was just for qualifying, didn't you? You had a qualifying car and then you had a race car. Where these days, and the qualifying cars had what? They had more power in the engine. They had a slightly different setup. And
different tyres.
This car had 9 pole positions in 1 year. 9 pole positions, including a win in Detroit.
Probably a quick car.
But this isn't at a time when, these days, we touched on it earlier, there's 24 races in a season. How many races in a season would there have been back then?
16.
16 races, and so more than 50% of the races, this one car, every single time, Nelson was sticking it on pole.
Yeah, people wasn't happy with that.
A couple more 54s, and then we've got the BT55s and the BT56. We've even got, this is after your time though, the 58.
I was going to say, yeah, exactly. Nothing to do with us.
So how did you end up with them?
Probably people forgot to pay me.
And you took them as a debt?
Yeah.
So, the 58, the 59, but this is after your time. But
yeah, and people always wanted to keep, if you look at this car, same colours, same looking nose, in fact, arrow badge on the front.
That's because they was all good looking cars. But you must be so proud. I know obviously at Formula One, what you built in Formula One, everybody should be thankful to you. The value of the cars are down to you. The salaries that people are earning in the paddock are down to you. But this here was so much your team, the Brabham boys, and how you just took a team and not just made it so competitive, but won world championships, 2 world championships, multiple races, countless podiums, countless fastest laps,
we had
over
proper people
25 pole positions.
Proper people running the team and proper drivers. That's the difference.
But the team, you must be so proud as well of when you look at Brabham, and today Gordan Murray. Gordan, obviously his career after Brabham has been McLaren. He's probably created the greatest road car of all time, the Formula One, and he's got his new car, the T50. It's a great car. But Gordan came knocking on your door looking for a job as a young...
Yeah, from South Africa.
What happened there?
That's basically what happened.
And you gave him such a freedom with such a, respectfully, big checkbook to say, do what you want, where some of these designs that he came up with on these Brabhams, if he'd have been working for maybe Williams at the time, they'd have said, Gordan, we can't afford that, what you doing? You're crazy.
Well, I took him, I don't know why, I thought he was going to be a brilliant guy. Because 3 guys that we had there, which were the key designers, with Ron Taranak. And Ron said, you can't, these guys are priceless, absolutely priceless. You can't, whatever you're going to do, you've got to keep, this is after I built the company, you've got to keep them. Anyway, Gordan come in, and 2 or 3 two of the guys said, explain how I couldn't do without them. I said, let me tell you something, I'm going to try, bye-bye. And put Gordan in charge.
As a young boy?
Yeah.
Gordan's a young boy, and you've just said, go and crack on with it, and look what...
Get on with it.
Look what it evolved into. Things as well that you came up with as a team, though, that I don't think many people realise. Carbon brakes these days, are things that, modern supercar buyers take for granted, and they talk about having it on their 812 Superfast or their Porsche GT3 RS. You created carbon brakes in the 1970s and put it on your Formula One car.
I think that came out of the Concorde, the plane.
But you were the first people to put it on.
Absolutely.
Hydro-pneumatic suspension.
We had lots and lots of firsts.
You let Gordan try surface cooling. I think it was on which never worked.
No, it didn't work.
It would have never worked. But all this stuff that was revolutionary, that
pit stops we did before anybody thought of them.
And then
for pit stop for fuel.
In race refueling.
And,
you reintroduced that, didn't you?
We started it.
So, just the amount of things as a team. We've touched on obviously your time with Formula One, which inspires me, but inspires everybody. But with Brabham itself, the inspiration in the team, the people that you started off, Charlie Whiting, obviously, God rest his soul today, such a great guy, but Charlie, you started Charlie in the team.
He was a mechanic.
Yeah. Herbie Blash, team manager that...
Used to be with Lotus.
And today, you know, he's such a...
Got Herbie because he was with Jochen Rindt. When we lost Jochen, I immediately took Herbie.
And the drivers in the period, of all the Brabham drivers that you had, who was Nelson your favourite?
As a person, I suppose most of them we got on with very well, but Nelson, particular person.
And so Nelson, Niki, Carlos, Reutemann, you know, so many great drivers in your...
Well, Niki and I were very close. Probably even closer than with Nelson, because it lasted a lot longer until we lost Niki.
You should be...
We were still good friends.
I'm sure you are, but you should be very proud of what you built as a team, Brabham, not just Formula One, but this is such an important team in the history of Formula One, and how you built it up, how you had the success with it, and then the individuals, which I know you don't take any credit for, but the individuals today that are such inspirational people in the motoring world, in the racing world, that started as young guys with you.
Yeah, but I think the only thing I would be happy about, I gave a lot of people a chance. If I thought they could do something, I'd say, well, get on and do it.
But there's something that must have rubbed off, Bernie, because it's okay giving people an opportunity, and you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You know, you gave people an opportunity, and it's just coincidental that it happened, that they all turned in to be so successful. You know, something's rubbing off there. I need to spend a bit more time with you.
Well, we've done that documentary called Lucky. That shows it.
Yeah. Look, thank you for this, and
no, thank you for spending the time.
Most importantly,
don't forget, I've got to get Fabiana to buy a couple of cars from you.
Yeah, well, we'll have a word. We'll talk about that. We can now start negotiating.
Okie doke.
Thank you.
Get it done.
Yes.